I suppose we got a few things we probably expected right off the board with WrestleMania with Backlash. But what did you think overall?
You
It
want
wasn't
to
a
take this
bad
one
pay.
on, Anthony?
It wasn't a bad pay-per-view.
No,
I
not
won't
a
say
bad.
it's
Well, we
like
got what we expected. I mean, Vega was never going to win. Brock's match was always going to be short.
yeah.
um, so there was Bad Bunny was always going to win somehow. So I think a few of the things I was expecting we got. But certainly, gee, the crowd were hot. I mean, last night they did SmackDown from down there, and then obviously the pay-per-view today, and the crowd were great. They were really into it. They were hot. They were good vibe. You could sort of almost feel it coming through. There was a really good vibe. Didn't mind the show at all overall, but a few disappointing bits and pieces, but overall pretty good.
Puerto Rico's always been a hotbed for pro wrestling from the 70s. So it doesn't surprise me that, with the background of pro wrestling in Puerto Rico that the crowd was hot. I don't think they've had a WWE show down there, if not for a very, very long time.
Long time, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
So, they had a couple of not homegrown talents, but a couple of, Puerto Rican
Yeah.
talents that were from America that were there, that were on the card for them.
Damian Priest was born there. He was in
he was born there, was he?
Yeah,
Okay.
same town as Bad Bunny. They've been friends since they were kids.
Oh, okay. Well,
Selena Vega, obviously not.
no, she's from Brooklyn, I think they said they brought her from Brooklyn, but still, Puerto Rican descent.
Yeah.
So there was that going for it. But geez, some of the booking was bad.
Well, we'll get into that when we talk about some of the matches, but I was actually trying to have a think while it was starting, and I was trying to think what are some of the greats that Puerto Rico has produced. And then you think of, I was writing them down. I was saying, Pedro Morales probably the most popular. And then I wrote down Savio Vega, and of course he pops up a bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down Carlito, and he popped up a little bit later on. And Carlos Colon, his father.
Carlos Coloni's father, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is probably one of the biggest promoters there in the last
huge.
40 years.
The promotion together at one point.
What was that, sorry?
Him, Carlos Colon and Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah, they were a part owners in it. And there was, apparently Brody had a share in the office there too. They reckon that's the reason why he got stabbed.
Is that what it was through that?
Oh, yeah. There was, there's a lot of connection. I think he got stabbed because of that, because of his connections through that office, and there was issues. So there was a few people. Who else? I know Dutch Mantel went down there and booked there for a long time with Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah.
So it was a very much of a hotbed. Ric Flair's been there many times.
Yeah.
He used to just about live there. But after Brody got stabbed, that's when the business fell apart.
Yeah, well, as Tony Atlas has said many times, because he was there, he had to really, really scurry just to get out of there. He feared he wouldn't get out alive if he didn't escape when he did.
Yeah.
So he obviously saw a bit, maybe more than's been said. Abdullah certainly saw a lot more, but said nothing to protect his interest.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So there was a lot of that. But anyway, we focus on the positives. But there's been some, some great stars who have come out of there. And, of course, absolute, as you said, hotbed of wrestling. And, look, maybe this is I could see them almost doing this, on a yearly occurrence based on.
Oh, yeah.
Could be another sort of Saudi Arabia type arrangement.
Yeah, it's an area that loves wrestling and is starved for decent wrestling. So you could see that working for them there. And they did the style all night was that brawling,
hardcore
Puerto Rico style. Yeah. That was very much with the blood, and that's it's what because a lot of the wrestling that went there come out of Memphis and Georgia, which was that brawling style of pro wrestling, and that's what sort of developed in Puerto Rico. So that style that they did tonight very much suited the traditional style that they have in Puerto Rico.
I thought they did a lot right. even Ray, though Ray wasn't really on the pay-per-view per such, he was on last night on SmackDown, and then obviously came out later tonight. But a lot of talking to them in their own language as well. I think it's important. There's millions and millions watching around the world, wouldn't have understood a lot of it. That, but I think it was good. They catered to the local crowd. They involved the local crowd. I give WWE their due. They do a lot, like promotion-wise, and the production of the thing and the staging and all. Like, they do it brilliantly. Like, no one comes close.
Oh, that's true. Their production is the best in the world, right? At anything, but their booking is shit.
Their booking is a bit average, yeah. It's still, although I did read something only.
There's no long-term thought of their booking at all. It's literally almost show by show. It's ridiculous, some of the stuff that's been on
besides the
lately.
Bloodline whole story feud.
Well, even that's gone sideways.
Well, I thought it was very interesting tonight. We'll talk about it a wee bit later, but I can see, and I wrote down about 3 or 4 Tuesday night. But yeah, I thought, I wrote down about 3 or 4 possibilities how that might progress now on Friday night their time, Saturday our time, with Roman Reigns back on SmackDown, and the whole bit now between Solo Sikoa and Jay and that, and depends what they do. But yeah, you're right. Overall, the booking, it's just.
I'll get onto it because I was not happy with a couple of the matches. A couple of matches, the booking was ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
like no long-term thought at all, in it at all. So